So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. All right, Rockstars, listen, I had a little issue last week. Apple iTunes removed this podcast for 3 days. It was an absolute disaster. I had sleepless nights. I mean, it was crazy because I had put some extra words after Real Estate Rockstars. I put the word selling, sales, trying to think that they would help with search engine optimization. I was actually given advice to do that, and they took it down without notice because they said they frown on that, or they don't allow that. So now it's just Real Estate Rockstars with Pat Hyben, which was fine and it's fixed. But what happened was the only people that were able to listen to Wednesdays and Fridays episodes either did it on Stitcher Radio, right, on their non-iPhone, on their smartphone, right, on their Android, whatever, or on a computer, or were subscribed. So if you were a subscriber on iTunes, you were able to get the Friday and Wednesday's episode, but if you weren't a subscriber, you couldn't hear it. Now, I don't plan on that happening again, but my point is that the subscribers benefited, and so if you have not hit the subscribe button, please subscribe to this podcast just in case any shenanigans happen like that again. You're guaranteed to get every single episode. Thanks, guys. All right, Rockstar Nation, man, we have a great guest today. I got this 27-year-old guy. I don't want to say kid. I got a 27-year-old who out of Indianapolis, Indiana, that a few people said I needed to get on the show. And it wasn't because he's a real estate agent. He's selling a ton of houses. It was because he was a guy that, saw real estate as a means to an end, saw real estate and saw people like Donald Trump and many people beyond that who have made fortunes in real estate and said, I want to be a mogul. And I can do that too, even though I'm young, and I'm going to think outside the box in doing this, and learned many lessons along the way. And now he owns 4 apartment buildings. He has a company that invests in multifamily units, and he's bought and sold many flippers or houses that have been fixed up and bought by investors and things like that. And so anyways, I wanted to dig deep into his story, and I'm hoping that the Rockstar Nation could get a lot of lessons to pull from it, to help them in their business and to help them in their lives and to help them expand their minds in setting goals for next year and to think bigger, and also encourage them to, continue to walk their talk and buy houses as they sell houses. And build their real estate moguldom. So without further ado, Mr. Sterling White, welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Welcome, Rockstar Nation. Thanks so much for having me on, Pat. I'm ready to bring that value. Are you guys ready?
Most 27-year-olds don't know that long live rock and roll sign. They think that's like Texas law. So I commend you on that. That's awesome. So, all right, buddy. So why don't you tell everybody about yourself, Sterling, so they get to know you better?
So just to start from the beginning is I've always been in the entrepreneurship as my background. Started at an early age, elementary school times, when I was taking Kool-Aid and selling them to kids throughout the school. Pokemon cards, basically anything I can get my hands on. And then kind of fast forward to how I got into real estate was started on the construction side, working on larger commercial projects, and then shifted to the single family, bought and sold quite a bit of those, well over 100, and then still own those as well, and then shifted entirely to the multifamily over the past 2 years, which currently now own just a little over 250 assets just for the multifamily side, total under 400.
And you're 27. When did you start like real estate?
Real estate investing or in
Yeah,
the
just anything
actual,
real estate. Yeah.
19 years old.
Okay, so you got 8 years in it. So at 19 years old, now you graduate high school?
Yes, just graduated high school and was first year or second year in college.
And what happened?
I was doing construction and gosh, I did not enjoy college at that time. So actually, I would say a year after that is when I completely dropped out and made the full transition to real estate.
And tell me about your first deal.
First deal was, and what I was mentioning to you offline was, I actually found a mentor who was looking to transition from multifamily to single family, and then basically didn't have the time to find a deal. So that's what I brought to the table, and that's how I acquired my first one. Found the single family that was producing income. Well, actually, it was distress, and we needed to put work in. But I brought that to them, and in return, I was able to get some equity.
So wait a minute. So you met a guy, right, who's a real estate mogul, right? And he says, you know, I'd like to buy some single family homes. And he goes, but I don't want to pay retail price. He goes, Sterling, you know, if you find me something, we can talk. And then what happened?
Exactly. That's exactly how it came down. He said, I don't have the time to find a deal. I do have the capital. On my end, I didn't have the capital, no credit really to get started. So I solved his problems. I solved my problem. Found the deal, which was through a bandit sign, which was one of those we buy house signs. And then through that was said, hey, his name was Will at the time. Well, his name was Will, my specific person I partnered with. I have this deal. What do you think? And he said, I love it. And then that's when we closed on it.
And so you were able to buy a house, your first house, without any money and without any credit at 19 years old. You know, it's essentially your real estate commission. You didn't have a license, but your real estate commission or your bird dog fee was a percentage of ownership in a house with this guy.
Yeah, that is correct. I was able to sell myself and say, hey, I'm more looking for the long term versus just taking a flat fee.
Now, do you still own that house?
I have sold that house since then.
You have? Okay. And what percentage was yours of that deal? Just out of curiosity.
15%.
Okay. And then, so did you guys flip that thing or what'd you do?
Actually, sold out of that specific partnership. So instead of not necessarily selling the asset, sold out of the partnership and was able to take a couple grand out of it.
So he just basically said,
you know, I got bought out.
You got bought out at some point, and then okay, all right. So now let's talk about like where you are today, right? You went from doing deals like that, and then and then you just started doing more and more of those, and finding more and more people to do that with.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got into some fix and flips too. Didn't really like that so much. Takes quite a bit of time, but it just made more sense. Took all that capital that I accumulated through that and just plowed it into buying holds.
It's kind of interesting because like real estate agents would do that for, a lot less of a commission than 15%, right? They would, whatever their typical commission is, it's much less than 15%. So they would do both sides of the transaction, what they would call a double dip, and think they're making a killing. But here, you don't have a real estate license, and you're finding that the value to the investor is 2 or 3 times what the normal commission would be, actually. So it's interesting what investors will pay, for a good deal.
Exactly.
And I know wholesalers do this all the time. They type on a wholesale fee, which is generally not the 15%. It's generally a couple percentage, or I don't know what it is. I got to go back and listen to our last episode with Scott, but anyways, so let's talk about this. So you did, so how many of these did you do? Eventually you started your own company where you bought fixed up, and then sold to people that wanted turnkey investments, right?
That is correct. So did just a little over 100 of those specific transactions.
And why did you get out of that business?
I would say it was more of, so we would buy something, sell it to an investor. Well, from the model of what my mentor ventured off and did the turnkey model, is we saw the new crowdfunding legislation that was opening up. And then also when you do the turnkey rental route, you have to manage that, generally is what you see. So you sell it to them and then you manage it. And you also, they still have control. But when we saw the new crowdfunding opening up, that legislation, that opened the door up for us to start our current company. And then also we wanted to have more control, and in addition to provide portfolios of properties to investors and allow pull together capital so they can invest alongside us versus us selling it to them.
Right, because essentially what you're doing is you were buying it distressed, owning it, repairing it, fixing it up, putting a tenant in it, putting a management company in place to manage the tenant, and then selling it, right?
Exactly.
And selling it and saying, it gets this much rent. And you did 100 of those, and usually there's a lot of profit in that. The other guys I've had on the show or talked to, there's a decent amount of fat in that. Not that, because I think investors are willing to pay. I don't want to say overpay, but maybe overpay for what a house is worth because it already has a tenant in there paying rent, and you can show a return. Right.
That is correct. You hit the nail on the head.
But I know there's a lot of downside to that business model too, because even though they think they buy it because they think it's going to be so easy. They buy it. They're in New York City. You're in Indianapolis. They think this is going to be a breeze. They buy 3 or 4 of these properties, and then all of a sudden the tenant moves out. The tenant doesn't pay the rent, or whatever, or the tenant destroys the house, and they get pissed off more than normal because they thought it was going to be easy and no frills, right? Whereas if they had just bought a place in New York themselves, they would have been ready for there to be headaches with it.
Exactly.
So you're dealing with a lot of sensitive investors. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. And one thing you normally get, so for instance, you're in Indianapolis, people are more attracted to the yields, which they necessarily wouldn't be able to get in, let's say, California or in New York. So that's why they're willing to pay a little bit more for that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, they're chasing yields. Hey, rock stars, are you worried that your next set of leads will be a total waste of time and money? Or maybe that those missed calls and texts are turning potential clients into missed opportunities? You should be, because these are 2 huge problems that will absolutely ruin a real estate business's profitability. Fortunately, Rebus CTO Austin Altman and I have come up with a solution. Rebus Complete. And it's got everything you need to maximize conversion, commissions, and profitability. Guys, this is the total package. When you sign up, not only are you getting the best training in the industry, every single course we offer, you're getting high quality exclusive leads and access to the most advanced follow-up systems on the market. I've got Austin on the line now to talk about what Rebus Complete has to offer. Hey, Austin, why don't you start by telling our listeners about the leads we send our members?
Sure. Well, like you said, Pat, these are high quality. They're not just people who are passively interested in real estate. They are people who are actively looking to buy and or sell in our members market right now. Also, every single lead we send is 100% exclusive. We aren't sending the same leads out to hundreds or even thousands of agents like most lead distributors. When an agent gets a lead from our program, it's theirs and theirs alone.
Wow, and these leads are integrated into our automated follow-up system, right?
That's absolutely right. All of our leads are managed by the system's state-of-the-art AI. And what's awesome about that is the fact that it not only makes extremely fast contact with incoming leads, but it can also be configured to book appointments based on agents' availability automatically. It's a foolproof system. No more missed contacts and no more missed opportunities.
Wow, that's kind of cool. Actually, it's quite incredible. Guys, like the experts say, it takes speed to lead to succeed. If you're not able to respond to a lead within 5 minutes, you might as well forget about it.
Yeah, it really is the answer to the follow-up problem that causes agents to lose potential business. And it's not just great for the hot leads we're sending to our members. The system also nurtures leads that aren't ready to take action today. It does everything from emails to text to ringless voicemails, even physical postcards. The system makes sure that whenever a lead is ready to buy or sell a home, our members are the agent that they think about first.
Man, I wish I had that when I was selling real estate. All right, Austin, this is great. Why don't you just tell our listeners how they can get more information on Rebus Complete?
Sure. Either they text Rebus, R-E-B-U-S, to 444-999, or they can go directly to hibandigital.com/Rebus. The page has more information on the program. In fact, it's got a video really going into a little bit of detail about what the program has to offer. And it also includes a form that agents can complete to book a complimentary discovery call. Oh, and if you're interested in becoming a Rebus Complete member, you're going to want to act fast. Before I forget, I wanted to mention that we assign slots on a zip code basis so that we can ensure that leads are exclusive. Unfortunately, that means once a slot for a zip code is full, we're not able to take on any new members in that area.
Guys, you don't want to miss out on this. Pause the podcast and go to hibandigital.com/Rebus. That's hibandigital.com/REBUS, or simply text REBUS, Rebus, to 444-999. That's Rebus to 444-999. Hey, and if you're enrolled in any Rebus course, don't forget to mention that during your complimentary call, what we're going to do for current customers is waive the entire membership setup fee. This is a game changer, guys, and I guarantee that you're going to regret it if you miss your chance to join. Pause the podcast and go to hibandigital.com/Rebus, or just text the word Rebus, REBUS, to 444-999. That's Rebus to 444-999 now. On paper. The challenge with single families that I found is and I love them. I mean, I have a bunch of them myself, but year in and year out, I'm pissed off at the amount of repairs. I haven't had a year recently, at least, where I didn't look at my rental portfolio and say, what the hell happened at that house? There's at least like 20% of them, right? They're like, are you kidding me? What was that for? Oh, well, the septic system exploded. Oh, well, the tenant moved out and left the place in shambles, so it cost $12,000 to get it fixed. I'm like, are you kidding me? So, it sounds like all those things added up, also, pushed you out. Otherwise you would have made, you certainly could have just put, a good manager in place and kept that business going, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was with another operator as well. So that operator ran the show. We was just buying the deals for that individual. And then they were the ones that were doing the matchmaking, and they had the management company.
I got you. So you were kind of a partner.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. So now let's talk about the new legislation that got you attracted to saying, hey, I can be a real mogul now. I can start buying multifamily. So tell me about this. And no one understands it but you. So tell me, like a third grader can understand, what changed.
Yeah. So the main thing was enabled more operators to basically raise smaller amounts of capital from a large number of individuals. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what we were able to basically ride that wave in terms of the whole crowdfunding model. And that's why we started.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Your phone is moving around or something's moving.
Okay.
Something's moving. Okay. So tell me about the legislation. Tell me what it is, what changed, what made you want to go that direction.
Yeah. So the main overarching idea was allowing us to raise smaller amounts of capital from a larger amount of people. So through that's why when we started with our new model, we were able to start as low as $10,000 to raise from all of our a variety of investors across the country.
Because before that, number one, you had to be an accredited investor to invest in a syndicated apartment building deal, right?
Exactly, correct.
And a syndicated investor is, $1 million in net worth, excluding your primary residence, because everybody tries to bullshit their primary residence equity. So they took that out of the equation, and or what, like
200 grand.
200 grand income a year for 2 years straight or something, right?
Or joint 300K if you have a significant other.
Okay. And so the people that were investing in multifamilies had some wherewithal. And then, and when did this change take place?
I would say the Jobs Act was, I'd have to go back into my records. I'm thinking it was either 2013, 2014, around that time period.
Was it that long ago? And what does it change to? What is it now?
I would even have to do a refresher on that. It's been a while since I've firmed things.
But why? Yeah. No, but you went into it for a reason, right? You said I don't have to. Before I had to go to accredited investors and collect 100 grand each. Now I can collect 10 grand each of any Joe Schmo, right?
From accredited and non-accredited is what they call it. Correct.
And now you can't just collect the money and then go out and find a place, right? You got to find a place and then you got to collect the money, right?
Yep, correct. And you also have to do registering with the SEC, and then you have to have a attorney draft up all your documents that you're now accepting from both from accredited and non-accredited as well.
So tell me how that process was like. Tell me about the first one you did, like what you went through.
Yeah, I would say the main thing that we had experienced was when we were coordinating with our attorneys what we can and cannot do in terms of how you solicit and how you don't solicit. So that's the main thing. And then also when you're targeting non-accredited investors, is there specific what I had mentioned previously is how you basically solicit, and then you have to also have a relationship with that individual as well. So you can't just have someone hit your site and then invest with you. Well, you can't have a random person register on your site and then they invest with you that specific day. You actually have to have a relationship with that individual, multiple calls, emails, etc.
You can't just run a Facebook ad, and own real estate today, right?
Exactly.
And have them send, but you can get someone on your email list that way and then start a relationship with them. And then, so like, was it hard on your first one to all of a sudden, okay, you find this unit and, let's talk about it. So the first one you found, how much was it?
That was actually, so we transitioned fully to portfolios of 10 houses. So through that, it took us a little over a year to find, just a little under a year to find all 10 of those assets. And then they were in distress, so we had to renovate them and get tenants in place. And then that's when we had it ready. And then we were ready to go and start raising money.
So you had to buy them first. At first you didn't do apartments. At first you just did. You decided to go 10 houses at a time and turn it into like a little REIT.
Exactly. Correct.
Okay, and then when you started doing multifamily, when you started doing your first apartment building, right? How hard was that to raise money for?
I would say it was not very hard since we already had those previous relationships. And I would say in today's market, over the past couple of years, investors are now even starting to pull their capital out of what is it, the stock market, and people see multifamily as more of a, they perceive it as a more
Respected
stable.
asset class.
Exactly.
So it's become easier and easier to raise money.
Correct.
Okay, so where do you find these people to give you $10,000 a piece times? Like what's it like the last one you bought? How much was it?
The previous one was 3.25 million.
Okay, and so how much money did you have to raise for that?
We had to put 25% down, so 837, or
Okay.
roughly around a little over 800,000, and then raise.
Did you have to raise money to fix it up or anything?
Yeah, so we raised more, I believe about 300,000 more over that down payment to take care of capital improvements.
So you raised about $1.2 million,
Exactly.
$1.3 million. How'd you do it? Where'd you find people to do that? Right? Because a lot of people listen and be like, where the hell am I going to get $1.2 million? You know what I mean? Like $3 million asset to them is a big deal, right? They're like, I mean, it's a real big deal. $300,000 house as a rental property to a lot of people is big, or a $30,000 house. Some people won't even do that. So, you know, they look and say, he's a 27-year-old guy that's doing, you know, a $3 million apartment building. How do I do it? Let's say tomorrow I want to start from scratch and just do it. Like, aside from the legalese and hiring a lawyer, which anybody could do, what specifically did you do to raise that money?
Yeah, so this all goes back to lessons, and ultimately through all the little deals, the single families ultimately was able to get me to build up to this point. So it wasn't just jumping right into the multifamily side. And then also with that is having people, mentors, and other operators that you can reach out to. Because once we made that shift to the larger deals, we had other people who had eyes on it. So we would say, hey, specific operator, whatever their name, and we would say, hey, this is our numbers. This is our specific business model. What do you think? Could you please poke holes in it? So that was the whole process with that, is pulling from others' experience. And then I don't know if I'm trying to determine where your question. Oh, so,
yeah, like how? Like, what do you do about it? Like, I think that's the biggest concern for people is, you know, they figure they can learn how to, obviously there's platforms out there like Bigger Pockets, there's mentors, there's books, there's plenty of video courses, how to, we have one at Rebus University called Certified Real Estate Mogul course that teaches people how to, run numbers on properties and what to look for on properties and things like that. Small plug, if you want to have 50% off any of the courses on Rebus University for the Certified Real Estate Mogul course, I'll give you 50% off with PH50 as a coupon. But anyway, Sterling, so what was what in your head, and people listening are like, well, how am I going to get $1.2 million? I mean, how am I going to raise that? And I know you had some contacts, but clearly it wasn't just all through contacts, was it, that you raised that money?
I would say no, it wasn't. And through that process, to start with your power base first, meaning as friends of friends, or even go down your family chain. So your inner circle, there's someone most likely in your family that's a rich uncle that has capital, and then start with that. And then you want to go outside. So the site I leveraged, of course, was biggerpockets.com. So going on there and providing value to people, you can go on the forums and answer questions. I wrote blogs on there and was able to bring value through that and get investors that route. So there's those mechanisms. And then also you can attend networking events and then speak with others. Because now, let's say it's a doctor or a lawyer, or people who attend these real estate focused events, that they realize they don't have the time to find these deals. So you're solving their problem ultimately through bringing that value.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you can think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox, and it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. So how many different people do you think made up the investment of $1.3 million?
Between about 30 to 40 different individuals.
Different people, as little as 10 or 20 grand, right?
Correct, exactly.
And some came from just randoms on bigger pockets. Some came from just, randoms everywhere, right?
Yeah, people across the country and some international as well. And all these folks, you just gotta build that rapport, and then also it comes from branding yourself as well. Ultimately, it's about give. And another source that you can use as well is you just have to make yourself reputable. So reaching out to other podcast influencers and then touching on specific subjects. So this goes back to determining who your ideal investor is, and then figuring out where their eyeballs are, and then also their ears and where they go.
And how do you keep from worrying? Like a lot of people, buying a $3 million apartment building, by the time most people are just buying their first brand new car, seems stressing to them, right? Like, how do you how do you not stress, or how do you not worry that you're making mistakes at such a young age? You know what I mean? And how do you have the mindset and the fortitude to just say, yes, I should be doing this?
Yeah, that is a great question, and one I haven't given too much thought. I think just my personality, I'm just so accustomed to risk. But for other people that don't have that, I would say, backbone, or specifically that muscle, is you just ultimately have to build it. And then maybe you will have to partner with someone who does have that experience that will allow you to mitigate your risk even more.
Right. So obviously, if you have a 50% partner, and is that what you did?
Yeah, so I do have a partner in my company. He's the one that does phenomenal in terms of the underwriting, financials, and does a lot of cleaning up of my messes too. He's more of the back office.
You're like the visionary, the money raiser. He's more like the visionary and the implementer. He's more the implementer and the numbers guy. Left brain, right brain?
Yeah, he's got more, I would say, the visionary, and I'm more of like the actual implementer. So it's kind of like a mix of things in terms of he's more of a introvert and behind the scenes numbers underwriting, but he also has that visionary. And then I'm more the one that, hey, he's like Sterling, this is what I'm thinking, go get it done ultimately.
And so what sort of returns do you think people are chasing, or are you thinking you're going to get like on this new one you just did, or what's out there? What's realistic today?
I would say specific investors are looking for double digits, and it really just depends on the specific asset itself. So if it's a D-class asset, then someone's going to look for a higher return since it's more risk.
D-class, he means
built
in the 70s, older, right? Lower income, lower rents, things like that. And so the more, the D's are obviously the highest risk of, especially like I said, repairs, things like that. And you're saying the D's, obviously people expect 20s percentage, 20 to make a 20% return or more. Is that what you're buying?
I would say we're more on so a older built, so C class asset in the C plus B minus neighborhood. So on those type of assets, your investors are between about a 10 to 14% cash on cash annually. And then on an IRR basis, which is a internal rate of return for all of the for everyone out there, is between about 18 to about 22%.
And what he's talking about with IRR, it includes the disposition, means it includes him selling it, right? Which is hard to say, because it's hard to say what he's going to be selling it for, what the cap rates will be, what the values will be, what the rents will be 5 years, 10 years from now when he sells it. So a lot of people don't like IRR. They just want to know about the cash on cash. If I put 100 grand in, how much are you going to pay me every year? And he's saying somewhere between, what'd you say, 10 and 20, right?
Yeah, on the cash on cash,
Cash
about
on
10 to
cash.
14.
10 to 14.
So double digits.
Yeah. Okay. And so what are you finding now? Like, I know multifamily popularity, like you said, is more of a respected asset class than ever before. There's a lot of players in the game, right? Some would say you're late to the game, almost. You know what I mean? I mean, you got 4 under your belt, which is good. But if someone's starting out, right, brand new, is probably late to the game in this. Certainly. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the demand? How do you deal with people that are, willing to chase returns that are less than 10% and take bigger risks?
Yeah, and would you say in terms of how to find a deal or
Yeah, I mean, are you competing on the deals that you're buying, or are you just buying them all off market?
Yeah, so right now it's primarily off market. And one thing I would mention to the audience out there, those of you who are just getting started, and especially in today's climate, on market, it's highly competitive. And a lot of people are not willing to do that extra work to go the off market and deal direct with the owners. So that's one thing that you can really go the extra mile on, and that is doing cold call, which is very effective, direct mail, and also showing up in person. So it's all about mixing those different combinations in order to get in touch with that decision maker to basically try and beat all of your other competitors that are just trying to go through.
So you'll just show up on an apartment site and be like, is the owner here, or do you know how I can find the owner and go to his house?
Yeah, well, yes and no. More of I'll have a conversation I'll reach out to the owner, and I've already had that relationship with them. And then that's when I'll show up and say, hey, I'll be in town next week. How about we grab a cup of coffee? And let's say they don't end up answering. I know that they're going to be at the community. I'll show up. So, yeah.
That's fascinating. That's great. That's good stories, right? And you've actually met some people that way, just by asking them when's the next time you're going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that I've really, and on a high level, ultimately what I've gotten from the acquisition side is even when you're buying, you're still selling yourself. So when you're reaching out to an owner of a property, you have to sell yourself to why they should sell to you. And through that is you just have to get creative in terms of following up with someone, because most of these people know that they can put it on the market and get more. So you have to figure out if they're not interested now, what's another way that you can follow up with them without just being annoying, basically.
Right. And what do you do? How do you follow up with them without being annoying? What do you do? Because people could use this in building listing inventory for real estate sales. I mean, they could use it for everything.
Yeah, exactly. And specifically, let's say you're an agent. For all your agents that are tuning in, is you can send, of course, your first postcard that says, hey, if you're looking to list your specific home, I can get you top dollar. So let's say you've sent that multiple times, that the second a good follow-up is to actually be of value to that person And then you can simply provide let's say a sales comparison of all the surrounding properties that are nearby. So that's one route. And then also you can send them another follow-up, or let's say you have their email address and say,
So
hey,
you would do that of apartment buildings, right?
yes. Mm-hmm.
You would say, hey, just want to let you know that, just like a realtor did. So you would do the same thing a real estate agent would do, but just with apartments.
Yeah, just anything that I can do to be of value. And then also I could send them information. Hey, are you familiar with a 1031 exchange? Which a 1031 exchange for everyone out there is just a way ultimately to defer taxes. But
Right.
some folks out there are not familiar with that process. So that's another way to follow up instead of just calling them and say,
Right.
hey,
So just like a real estate agent,
Exactly.
you're following up with them, you're providing value to them, and you're just giving reasons to keep calling. And like that guy Sterling knows his stuff, maybe I'll entertain an offer. Go ahead, tell me what you're going to give me, and then you can, work the numbers. Well, this has been cool. I'm glad we chatted. I mean, this has been fun. I think there's a lot of lessons here for everybody to learn. And as far as thinking big, as far as believing that you can do anything, and that as far as I'm hoping that it'll make a lot of you guys feel bad that you're not investing in real estate. There's a lot of false prophets out there who work with investors and who sell investors and tell investors that they should be buying real estate, and they don't buy it themselves. And I think a lot of the reasons they don't buy it themselves is because they kind of fear, right? They have a lot of fear of what could happen. And this I wanted Sterling to talk so that he can allay some of that fear, because here he is, buying all these apartment buildings, about 4 of them, with essentially no fear.
Yeah, go huge, go big, because ultimately, I mean, that's what's the worst that can happen? Well, I know
could lose it all.
Yeah, that is, but you can start over. So that's yeah.
That's true. All right, Sterling. Well, as you know, everybody that comes on brings a free gift. And we put that, I'm going to put that on hibandigital.com/Sterling White. hibandigital.com/Sterling White. What is your free gift today?
Yeah, so I will be giving everyone a due diligence checklist.
Oh, that's cool. A due diligence checklist for an investment property or apartment building or what?
Yes, a apartment building. So that way you got your I's and T's and circles dotted and crossed. I threw a circle in there.
Can you use this for a 4-plex, an 8-plex, even the smallest one? Can you use the same checklist for? Yeah.
Same process, and it would be most of those items. You can just, you would go above and beyond with the checklist.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to put that. I'm going to put all of his information if you want to reach out to him, website, and of course his free gift at hibandigital.com/Sterling White. I'm also going to put it in the Agent Success Toolbox, which can be found on hibandigital.com/toolbox, or you could simply text the word toolbox to 444-999. Sterling, thank you so much for coming on. If I'm ever in Indianapolis, Indiana, I will look you up, and we can break some bread. You give me a tour of your developments there.
Awesome. Will do.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Estate Rockstars. If this free content is giving you a ton of value, I want to ask a small favor in return. I need you to pull out your pointing finger and hit the subscribe button. Yes, hit subscribe, please. The more subscribers that we get on Real Estate Rockstars, the better guests are attracted to the shows. We'll get more guests from the top companies, from the top teams, and even more celebrity guests like Robert Kiyosaki and Barbara Corcoran. Also, if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio right on Facebook and join the conversation. I'm on there myself on FaceTime Lives, and we have a lot of communications and questions about the show, and I'd love to see you there. And it's free. People ask me all the time, where am I on social media? I'm real easy to find. Just type in my name. My IG is I am Pat Hyben. It is blowing up on Instagram, adding tons of subscribers, and I'm on there probably twice a day. So definitely follow me on Instagram, as well as everywhere else. Thanks again for listening, and keep rocking.